U.S. Secretary Rubio arrives for ASEAN talks. And also, Trump issues tariff letters to 8 countries. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia MADANI. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Brendan Lepal. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in Malaysia today to attend high-level talks held in conjunction with the 58th ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting AMM, hosted by Malaysia under its 2025 ASEAN Chairmanship. Now, this visit marks Rubio's first to Asia since assuming office early this year. Rubio is leading the U.S. delegation at the ASEAN-led meetings taking place at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre, KLCC, from 8 to 11 July. They were received by Foreign Ministry Under Secretary for Special Functions, Dato' Syed Muhammad Bakri Syed Abdul Rahman, U.S. Ambassador to Malaysia, Edgar D. Kagan, and Chargé d'Affaires at the U.S. Mission to ASEAN, Kate Rebels. According to the U.S. Department of State, Rubio is scheduled to participate in the ASEAN-United States Post-Ministerial Conference, the East Asia Summit, EAS, Foreign Ministers Meeting, and the ASEAN Regional Forum, ARF, Foreign Ministers Meeting, all taking place from Thursday. He is also expected to hold bilateral discussions with senior Malaysian officials during his visit. All ASEAN foreign ministers are attending the meetings except for Myanmar, which is represented by a senior official. Timor-Leste is participating as an observer. United States President Donald Trump on Wednesday said African nations are going to lower their tariffs. He also added that the United States treats Africa better than China does, adding that 5 African countries were unlikely to face U.S. tariffs. Trump meeting with the leaders of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania and Senegal at the White House added that he did not think those countries at the gathering were likely to see any U.S. tariffs. Trump also said he would release more letters to countries notifying them of tariff rates, including Brazil.
Different ways, including with tariffs, but parts of Africa charge us tremendous tariffs, as you know. And they're going to be dropping those tariffs. They've already informed me they're going to be dropping those tariffs. But we treat Africa far better than China or anybody else, anyplace else. Something was going on, but hard to believe that they got away with it for so many years.
Trump said the tariff rates announced this week were based on very, very substantial facts and past history. Early on Monday, Trump published more than a dozen letters to countries with details of his latest tariff plans. Initially, Trump's focus was on imports from Asian countries, especially those in Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, Trump on Wednesday issued a round of tariff letters to 8 countries, including Algeria, Brunei, Iraq, Libya, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines. The letters call for tariffs of 30% each on Algeria, Iraq, Libya, and Sri Lanka, 25% each on Brunei and Moldova, and 20% on the Philippines. The latest letters add to 14 others issued earlier in the week, including 25% tariffs for powerhouse U.S. suppliers South Korea and Japan, which are also to take effect on 1st August, barring any trade deals reached before then. They were issued a day after Trump said he was broadening his trade war by imposing a 50% tariff on imported copper and would soon introduce long-threatened levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Trump has said trade talks have been going well with China and the European Union, which is the biggest bilateral trading partner of the U.S. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Wednesday that she is waiting for further developments when asked about the possible imposition of a 50% tariff on copper imports to the United States, announced a day before by her U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Sheinbaum said Mexico could consider other export destinations outside the U.S.
Vamos a esperar. Esta semana va un equipo del Gobierno de México, Estados Unidos, a trabajar sobre este acuerdo global que platicamos en su momento en el G7 con el presidente Trump. Lo encabeza el secretario de Economía pero ven equipo de Hacienda y un equipo de Relaciones Exteriores. Y van a estar allá este viernes.
Trump said on Tuesday he would soon announce a 50% tariff on copper imports, which make up nearly half of the metal consumed in the country, as part of his bid to build up domestic production. The tariffs are designed to spark a revival of the U.S. copper industry, but analysts warn that it would take years, if not decades, to gear up production. Mexico is the U.S. fifth largest supplier of refined copper. On the flip side, the United States represents a relatively small amount of Mexican copper exports, which go mainly to China. The United States imports about half of its annual needs for copper, which is used in construction, transportation, electronics, and many other industries. In other developments, overwhelmed doctors and patients at Gaza's largest medical center could soon be plunged into darkness because of dwindling fuel supplies, which doctors say threaten to paralyze Al-Shifa hospital as Israel presses on with its military campaign. The director of the Al-Shifa medical complex, Dr. Muhammad Abu Salamiya, said a fuel shortage threatens to cause an imminent humanitarian catastrophe. According to the UN agency, just half of Gaza's 36 general hospitals are partially functioning. Abu Salamiya said Al-Shifa dialysis department had been shut down to protect the intensive care unit and operating rooms, which can't be without electricity for even a few minutes. He added that there are around 100 premature babies in Gaza city hospitals whose lives are at serious risk. Officials at Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis are also wondering how they will cope with the fuel crisis. The hospital needs 4,500 litres of fuel per day, and it now has only 3,000 litres, enough for 24 hours. Israeli airstrikes and relentless bombardment have taken a heavy toll on hospitals in Gaza. Palestinians and medical workers have accused the Israeli military of attacking hospitals. The WHO says there have been more than 600 attacks on health facilities since the conflict began. It further described the health sector in Gaza as being on its knees, with shortages of fuel, medical supplies, and frequent arrivals of mass casualties. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said on Wednesday that Brazil aims to diversify its trade with Indonesia, including in areas such as civil aviation, defense products, and beef. Delivering a joint statement with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, Lula also said that Brazil's presidency of Mercosur will resume negotiations for the signing of a trade agreement between the South American bloc and Indonesia.
A presidência brasileira do Mercosul retomará com os sócios as tratativas sobre a celebração de um acordo com a Indonésia. O interesse de brasileiros pela Indonésia e de indonésios pelo Brasil já é muito positivo.
Subianto said the interest in strengthening trade ties is mutual and said he agreed to try to push for a tangible ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia.
I think I agree with your concept and your thinking of continuing the role of the group of friends to try to push towards a tangible and real ceasefire as soon as possible.
The two leaders also discussed preparations for COP30, which Brazil will host in November in the Amazonian city of Belém. They reaffirmed their commitment to proposing the establishment of a global fund to protect forests in less developed countries. Coming up next, ex-South Korean leader returns to jail after court approves arrest warrant. Stay with us.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol returned to jail on Thursday after a court approved a warrant sought by prosecutors investigating his attempt to impose martial law last year. The Seoul Central District Court's decision bolstered the special counsel investigation into allegations that Yoon's move last December represented obstruction of justice and abuse of power. The court said in a statement it granted the request because of concerns Yoon could seek to destroy evidence. The conservative politician already faces criminal charges of insurrection over his martial law decree, and that could carry a sentence of life in prison or death. The former president returned to confinement in the Seoul detention center about 20 kilometers south of the capital after the decision. He spent 52 days in jail earlier in the year but was released 4 months ago on technical grounds. The Constitutional Court ousted him as president in April, upholding Parliament's impeachment for the martial law bid, which shocked South Koreans and triggered months of political turmoil. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron both welcomed the landing of the Bayeux Tapestry to Britain in speeches on Wednesday. The 11th century masterpiece will be transported across the Channel for the first time in more than 900 years, in a show of friendship to mark President Emmanuel Macron's state visit. While the precise origins of the 70-meter-long Bayeux tapestry are obscure, it is said to have been the work of English embroiderers whose stitching tells the story of the Norman invasion in 1066, and most famously the arrow which hit England's King Harold in the eye. In the years after William the Conqueror took the English throne, the tapestry was taken to France, where it has remained displayed at the Bayeux Museum in Normandy since 1983. Speaking at the British Museum, Starmer called the tapestry the beginning of 1,000 years of shared culture that is now defined by mutual admiration and kinship. The artwork will be shown at the British Museum from September 2026 to July 2027. Meanwhile, museums in Normandy, northern France, will host Britain's Sutton Hoo collection, consisting of metal artworks including helmets, shields, and spoons from the 7th century. Severe rainstorms accompanied by gales lashed several districts in southwest China's Chongqing municipality on Tuesday and Wednesday, uprooting trees, disrupting traffic, and prompting a large-scale emergency response. The city's Yubei district recorded its heaviest rainfall this year. A fallen roadside tree near Shuanglongho metro station paralyzed traffic for 3 hours while firefighters used chainsaws to clear the debris. In Tatuco district, fast-flowing floodwaters trapped a motorcyclist in raging currents before rescuers dragged him to safety. Fire crews handled 16 flood-related emergencies across the district, dispatching 21 vehicles and more than 130 personnel. In Banan district, furniture stores were inundated due to the heavy rain. The district's fire department dispatched more than 100 personnel, over 10 vehicles and rubber dinghies for the rescue operations. They evacuated over 200 residents and helped more than 80 people stranded in floodwater to safety. Across the municipality, 22 counties experienced torrential rain, with 4 counties hit by extreme downpours between Tuesday morning and Wednesday night. Though the rains has eased, the local weather service has warned of rainstorms over the next 3 days, keeping emergency teams on high alert. Greece will stop processing asylum applications of people coming from North Africa, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said on Wednesday, amid an increase in migrant arrivals. The announcement came a day after EU's Migration Commissioner and ministers from Italy, Malta and Greece were denied entry to the eastern part of divided Libya and declared persona non grata by the Benghazi-based government ahead of a scheduled meeting on migration. Mitsotakis said that he intended to return to Libya all migrants who entered Greece illegally. Sea arrivals of migrants travelling from northeastern Libya to Greece's southern islands of Crete and Gavdos have increased to more than 7,300 this year. That compares with around 5,000 in the whole of 2024. The migrants mainly come from the Middle East and North Africa, including nationals from Sudan, Egypt and Bangladesh. Greece rescued about 520 migrants off Gavdos early on Wednesday and was taking them to the mainland. The death toll from several earthquakes that struck Guatemala rose to 4 on Wednesday, with the discovery of a teenager buried by a landslide. A series of tremors of up to 5.7 magnitude rattled the country on Tuesday, centered near the towns of Amititlan and Alotenango, southwest of the capital. Disaster Coordination Agency CONRAD reported that the teenager's body was found in a village in the worst-hit municipality of Santa Maria de Jesus. President Bernardo Arevalo said the other victims were 2 men whose vehicle was buried by falling rocks and a woman killed by a landslide. CONRAD said the earthquakes damaged around 90 homes, more than a dozen roads and a bridge. Mayor Mario Perez said in Santa Maria de Jesus, home to an indigenous Mayan community, 50% of homes had some kind of damage. The municipality had no power and was almost cut off due to landslides blocking access roads. According to the country's Seismology Institute, around 200 aftershocks were recorded. Hundreds of people spent the night sleeping in the streets and parks, afraid to return home. Nvidia became the first company to touch $4 trillion in market values on Wednesday, a new milestone in Wall Street's bet that artificial intelligence will transform the economy. Shortly after the stock market opened, Nvidia vaulted as high as $164.42, giving it a valuation above $4 trillion mark. The stock subsequently edged lower, ending just under the record threshold. Nvidia, led by electrical engineer Jensen Huang, now has a market value greater than the GDP of France, Britain or India, a testament to investor confidence that AI will spur a new era of robotics and automation. The California chip company's latest surge is helping drive a recovery in the broader stock market, as Nvidia itself outperforms major indices. Part of this is due to relief that President Donald Trump has walked back his most draconian tariffs, which pummeled global markets in early April. Even as Trump announced new tariff actions in recent days, U.S. stocks have stayed at lofty levels, with the tech-centered Nasdaq ending as a fresh record on Wednesday. Elon Musk's own ex-chief executive officer, Linda Yaccarino, said on Wednesday she would step down from the role in a surprise move, just months after the social media platform was acquired by the billionaire's AI startup xAI. Her departure adds to the turbulence in Musk's sprawling business empire, including falling sales and his EV maker Tesla and AI-related controversies. Musk is also embroiled in a war of words with former ally President Donald Trump. Yaccarino did not give a specific reason for her decision. X and Yaccarino did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The resignation comes just one day after Grok, the AI chatbot developed by xAI, posted content referencing Adolf Hitler on the platform. The posts were later deleted following a public backlash. Yaccarino said in a post on X that the team started with the critical early work necessary to prioritize the safety of users, especially children, and to restore advertiser confidence. Musk thanked Yaccarino for contributions in a reply to the CEO's post on X.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
European champions Paris Saint-Germain turned on the style in their reunion with Kylian Mbappe on Wednesday, thrashing Real Madrid 4-0 in the semi-finals of the Club World Cup to set up a final showdown with Chelsea. The defeat is a real blow to Real as they hope to win the first 32-team Club World Cup to add to their record tally of 15 European Cups. A Spanish court on Wednesday sentenced former Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti to a year in jail for tax fraud committed in 2014, a punishment that will not oblige the Brazil coach to serve prison time. Prosecutors allege the Italian created a system of shell companies to hide extra earnings during his first spell as Real Madrid manager in 2014 and 2015, notably through image rights. The 66-year-old failed to pay more than €1 million due to undeclared earnings in those years, seeking 4 years and 9 months jail against him. Ancelotti denied having internationally committed fraud at his highly publicized trial in April, saying he never realized the scheme allowing him to collect some of his salary in image rights would see him pay less tax. A Madrid court announced it had convicted Ancelotti for an offence against the Treasury to the punishment of 1 year in prison and a fine of $452,821. But the former Chelsea, Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain boss will not serve jail time because the sentence is less than 2 years and he has no criminal record. The court cleared Ancelotti of the fraud allegation for the 2015 tax year, saying it could not conclude beyond reasonable doubt that his fiscal residence for that year was in Spain. He joins a list of football greats who have fallen afoul of Spain's crackdown on stars who have not paid their due. And in tennis, Novak Djokovic was given an early scare but continued his bid for a record equaling 8 Wimbledon trophy and standalone 25th Grand Slam title by beating Italian Flavio Cobolli 6-7, 6-2, 7-5, 6-4 on Wednesday to reach the semi-finals. The 38-year-old's fight back helped him reach a record 14 singles semi-final at the All England Club, where he will face top seed Jannik Sinner with defending champion Carlos Alcaraz or Taylor Fritz awaiting in the title clash. Cobolli, the 22nd seed, showed tremendous mental fortitude to recover a break after going 3-5 down in the first set. Cobolli was given a masterclass in the next set. However, his idol broke for a 6-5 lead thanks to a slew of errors before tightening his grip on the contest. Djokovic earned break points early in the fourth set with vintage tennis but was hitting his shoe with his racket after wasting them before he fell to the ground. The Serbian dusted himself off and served out the victory to go past Roger Federer's semi-finals record at the All England Club and reach a record-extending 52 Grand Slam semi-final. Earlier, world number 1 Jannik Sinner shrugged off any doubts about his fitness to reach the Wimbledon semi-finals for the second time with a clinical defeat of American Ben Shelton. A high-octane contest was decided by slender margins with Italian Sinner seizing the few opportunities that came his way for a 7-6, 6-4, 6-4 win. Sinner dropped 2 points on serve in the opening set but could make no impression on Shelton's booming delivery before reeling off 7 points to storm through the tiebreak. 10-seed Shelton continued slugging it out with the 3-time Grand Slam champion, but the American faltered at 4-5 in the second set. It was a repeat in the third set as Sinner applied the pressure in the 10th game and Shelton buckled, striking a forehand long on match point after 2 hours and 19 minutes. In the women's draw, Iga Swiatek said she had goosebumps after reaching the Wimbledon semi-finals for the first time in her illustrious career with a 6-2, 7-5 win against Russia's Lyudmila Samsonova on Wednesday. The Polish 8th seed will face former Olympic champion Belinda Bencic for a place in Saturday's final. Swiatek has won 4 titles on the clay at the French Open as well as the US Open in 2022, but has struggled on the lawns of the All England Club. Her previous best result at Wimbledon was a run to the quarterfinals in 2023. Swiatek dominated the first set against 19th seed Samsonova on court 1 but was made to battle in the second set before wrapping up victory in 1 hour and 49 minutes. Switzerland's Belinda Bencic said her dream had come true after she reached a first Wimbledon semi-final with a 7-6, 7-6 win against Russian 7th seed Mira Andreeva on Wednesday. The former Olympic champion is enjoying her best run at the All England Club just over a year after giving birth. The 28-year-old had a daughter, Bella, in April 2024, but has already risen to 35th in the world since returning from maternity leave. Wimbledon appears to be child's play for Bencic this year, and she dispatched Andreeva in just over 2 hours of enthralling quarter-final action on centre court. And in cycling, Belgian Remco Evenepoel lived up to his favourites tag in the individual time trial by winning stage 5 of the Tour de France on Wednesday, with defending champion Tadej Pogacar's second place enough to take hold of the leader's yellow jersey. Evenepoel, Olympic and world time trial champion, covered the 33-kilometre around Caen in 36 minutes 42 seconds, 16 seconds ahead of Pogacar, with Italian Edoardo Affini rounding out the podium. Slovenia's Pogacar had moved level with Mathieu van der Poel at the top of the general classification after Tuesday's stage win, and the time trial provided the expected first big shake-up in the race. Pogacar now holds a 42-second lead over Evenepoel, who moves from 9th to 2nd overall, with Van der Poel slipping to 6th. 1 minute 28 seconds down the Slovenian, who is aiming for his 4th Tour de France victory. Two-time Tour champion Jonas Vingegaard lost valuable time in his bid to wrestle back the title for Pogacar. While the Dane only dropped from 3rd to 4th overall, he went from 8 seconds down on Pogacar to 1 minute 13 seconds in an early blow to his hopes of battling the Slovenian for the title. Thursday's stage 6 is a 201.5-kilometre ride from Bayeux to Via Nomadi.
Sportcast minggu ini mengupas tajuk Super Mock, legenda sepanjang zaman.
Lama sudah beliau meninggalkan kita, tapi nama Super Mock terus hidup dalam sorakan dan air mata rakyat. Siapakah Mokhtar Dahari di mata rakan sepasukan, lawan, wartawan dan peminat? Nantikan di Sportcast Jumaat 3.30 petang.
Bersama tetamu Redwan Abdullah, bekas pemain bola sepak kebangsaan. Jumaat 11 Julai 3.30 petang di saluran OK dan saluran sukan RTM.
That wraps up all today. This time around, in our top story, U.S. Secretary Rubio arrives for ASEAN talks. For business news updates, do join us tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 or saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Brendan Paul, Malaysia MADANI, Rakyat, Disantuni. Thanks for the company and take care.